What's up, KB family? We are making headway. I was under this thing last night. I've got the drive shaft out. Cross member had no bolts in it. Well, it had bolts in it, but there was no nuts on them. So I'm really glad that didn't fall out while I was driving home. Cross member was bolted into this, but the tranny was just sitting. There are no nuts on that. Yeah, I was under the impression that this tranny was put in, driven on for 3,000 miles, and it had just, something was wrong with it. Now I'm convinced that it wasn't driven any miles. I can't tell if tranny went bad and they were in the middle of taking it out to swap it, or if they did swap in a new transmission and messed it up and never finished the job, because cross member was not in all the way. Let me just show you what I got here. We'll go over everything I found last night. Okay, you can see cross member went across here. There's that there. I just want to show you something real quick. You see that? That's why it was leaking fluid where the transfer case met the tranny, because, well, that's not even in there. There's about one bolt holding it. All these are finger tight. You can see them plugs right there. They put sticky glue in those so water doesn't get them. They don't come apart unless you use a heat gun. Instead of doing that, just cut it and wire it back together with wire nuts. Transfer case was completely unplugged, and I didn't know any of this. I just figured, hey, needs a tranny. I figured it was all complete, but if you can see inside here, there's a chunk of my transmission missing. You see that piece inside there? So I don't know if this transfer case is any good or not now. Which, whatever, I can get it for 150, 200 bucks and swap it out in like, 2 hours. So we're gonna keep moving forward. Front drive shaft was out, everything was unplugged. So what is your theory as to what happened? I'll tell you mine. I think tranny went, because if you look up here, you see that junkyard paint? I think tranny went bad, tried swapping tranny, got this one back in, and when they were lifting this back up in, they had the transfer case on the tranny, did it all in one piece, and I think it fell off the jack and the tail end landed on the ground and split it just like that. See that? It landed, poof, broke just like that. That's my theory. You saw the exhaust was cut, had that little flex pipe in. So I got the exhaust out of my way, the cross member out. I've got this underneath it, just holding it. I know that'll hold. That's my back cross member. I can't take that out because my torsion bars are on it. So right now I'm trying to take this transfer case out, but I wanted to show you guys this first. I got under here yesterday and I'm like, what the heck, why is it leaking there? So I started working my way around this cross member. When I moved the cross member, I saw the transfer case move and I was like, what the hell? So then I found that this whole ring around the tranny is broke and cracked. Now that only happens if that tranny was going in, slipped off the jack, and broke. Because there ain't, unless you were jumping the damn thing and bottomed it out, but everything was taken apart, everything was half-ass out. Like, I drove this home. The bolts vibrated out and that cross member fell out. I mean, I would have broke motor mounts, I'd have broke everything. And then when I'm selling cars, I at least would say, you know what, man, I was putting the tranny in, I cracked the case on the tranny. I gave up. I'm done with it. You know what I mean? At least let the people know. Unless he bought it and he bought it as a project and didn't do anything to it and didn't know. But I'm assuming, you know, had to have known. I found out right away when I got underneath there and started moving stuff. First thing I saw was no nuts on the cross member. And then second thing I saw when I jiggled it was the transfer case moving. And, you know, I knew fluid was leaking from right there. And that would explain why it was leaking out so fast, because when I got there, I test drove it, slipping really bad in first and second. It's like, all right, you know, it feels like low fluid. We check fluid, oh, it's low. And I'm like, all right, well, he said, I'll put a couple quarts in for you, you know. And so we put a couple quarts in and it shifted fine, you know, to first and second. And then there was no flare. The clutch packs are totally cooked because it was ran low on fluid. But within 2 blocks, it was slipping again. And yeah, it leaked out that much fluid that fast because obviously, you know, that seal between the transfer case and tranny was messed up. Now I'm hoping, we look at this one, this is the ring that's cracked on the transfer case, you know, or on the tranny. The transfer case is still in good condition. So I'm hoping that the transfer case is still good, that it didn't fry it, that, you know, obviously it wasn't used in 4-wheel drive, so I'm hoping that it just spinning free in 2-wheel drive didn't cook it, because obviously there was no fluid going into that thing. It was all coming out right here. Yeah, so please let me know what your guys' theories are based on what I just said, where it was at and how it was in there. But I think, guys, if you're gonna flip cars, you gotta tell people this stuff, man. I could have been on the side of the highway with my frickin' tranny and transfer case. Transfer case would have broke right off, you know, got jammed in the rear end. Motor would have been sitting in there like this. It would have broke so much shit. And then I would have been, you know, screwed. It's still fixable. I'm still gonna make it work, you know. I'm not mad about it. But it's just, you know what I mean? That's good information to know, because then I could have said, I would have had the choice to say, oh man, that's a little bit more than I want. I don't know what's going on with it. You know what I mean? Versus, yeah, okay, I know what it is. I know what it needs. I probably better have it trailered home. But, you know, it is what it is. You know, maybe the guy was in a hard spot, just needed to get rid of it. You know, I feel like everything happens for a reason. So it is what it is. Not mad, but let's hope that transfer case isn't bad. Let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna be out here working on this thing probably all day, you know. And it's just a slow process. It's time consuming. Everything's hard to get to. The biggest key to this is stay calm. You just gotta calmly, slowly just go through each process. Every bolt that doesn't want to come out or you don't have room, you got to take that 1/8 of a turn at a time, stay calm. You get frustrated, get up, go in the house for 20 minutes. You know what I mean? You can come back. You'll go in the house, I swear to you, every time, go in there, eat something, sit down, watch a YouTube video or two. You'll see a tip or a trick, and you'll come out with a different plan of attack that'll actually work. Getting frustrated and pissed off and then staying out here for 6 hours you're just going to ruin your day. You're going to bust your knuckles. You're going to break something. Just take 10, you know what I mean? Breathe. But other than that, it's coming apart smooth. I mean, that cross member right there is usually one of the biggest fights. Getting them bolts out, boom, out. You know what I mean? This was in, no nut on it. Missing the second bolt. I don't know where those are. I gotta go get those from the junkyard. These nuts here, that sits on there like that. Bolts up through like this to the transmission. Goes right here like so, and that was just sitting on there like that. I could pick the transmission up, you know, it was just moving. So keep them bolts there so I know where they're at. Everything's nice and wet, so it comes out smooth. Both catalytic converters are out of here. We don't have inspections in Michigan, so freaking running it. We're gonna run a nice loud exhaust. That wiring over there, oh, not too happy about that, but that's a huge thing on these Chevy trannies is those clips are glued in and you can't get them out unless you heat them with a heat gun. But most people, 90% of people, just take the two nuts off and take that whole box right off the tranny, zip tie it to the side, and you can put it on your next one, you know what I mean? The other thing is, they tell you, take your time on this shift cable. It's a pain in the ass. There's a little metal clip that you got to push out, and then you got to pinch the ears, and that slides out. If you do break it, it's not going to stay in the right gears, because if this moves at all, which it does, it's in between gears and it fries your tranny. I watched probably 40 videos on this, and I took the best tips and tricks from 40 different people, and I came up with my plan. Biggest thing was these wires, these clips, heat them up or take the box right off. You know, inexperience, he didn't know, so he cut the wires, and now they're spliced together with freaking wire nuts. You know, that's not good. Water's gonna get in there. That's got glue in those clips because it can't have water in there. So who knows if he shorted something out, you know what I mean? This thing, I could tell when I used the shifter that it didn't feel right. It was hard to find drive. I couldn't find drive. I had to do it a couple times. Go back to part, count 3. It feels funky. That's because this clip zip tied in because the cable's broke. So now I gotta buy a new cable, which it is what it is. You know what I mean? When I buy a car, I've looked at it. I don't ever go back to the person and say, hey, I want my money back. You ripped me off. You know what I mean? It's up to me to look at all this stuff. I should have climbed under here. It was in the road, so I didn't really climb under and lay on the street. I saw that pipe cut, and I saw that flex pipe on there. I saw that it was leaking. I saw the drive shaft, front drive shaft was out of it, which I don't even think I have those straps for the front drive shaft. They're gone. So I assume responsibility. I looked at it, I chose to buy it, it's my fault. I have to do with what I got now. You know, I never message people back after buying something and say, hey, you know, you ripped me off. He didn't rip me off. I looked at this, I made my decision. Now I have to deal with it, and I'm gonna have to deal with it. I'll fix it, you know? So I need a shifter cable. I need to figure out what the hell I'm gonna do with this, because I thought, you know what, hell, the box is good, so it doesn't even matter. Check this out. I was hoping he'd have left these on here, you know what I mean? So, but right here, two 12mm nuts, boom, boom, that whole thing comes off there. Don't you think that'd been an easier way? Instead of cutting those and then splicing 30 wires together with wire nuts. So, but check out the tranny jack. It's working, it's holding it, holds it level. I can spin this thing. I've got movement, freedom to get that thing in however I want to, so that's good. But yeah, I wanted to make sure I showed you guys all that and shared that with you before I got too far, because just telling you about it without showing you, you'd have never been able to picture that. Transfer case is completely busted off the back of the tranny. There's only one bolt holding it in. Nice for me, you know, I can get that bolt out, and I'm gonna drop that transfer case first, because I don't feel like, because I'm by myself, I don't feel like fighting a tranny and a transfer case. That tranny's already 200 pounds. That's going to be fun enough as it is. So I'm working on the transfer case. Still early, so stay tuned. I will let you guys know how it goes as I go. But yeah, I mean, stuff like that's kind of frustrating, you know what I mean? But whose fault is it really? It's mine. I should have looked at it more. You get buying cars, you're buying car after car after car. You stop looking at certain things, you know what I mean? You get comfortable, you get sloppy. You got to keep your A game. If I would have been on my A game and thought, oh, you know, just had tranny out, just put tranny back in, let's see what kind of a job was done, I probably would have opted out of this one. I probably would have said, yeah, man, I'm going to pass. That's a bit much, you know what I mean? But now, here I am. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to get it done. And I'm, you know, I'm done complaining right now. Boom, done, over. So let's get back to work. Thank you, sir. All right, well, we got something done anyway. Here's pieces to the transmission. Now, the seal here, we're gonna buy a new rubber seal. I wonder how, I wonder if that's bad. I mean, it's still working. Maybe it's in, I don't know, it feels smooth. So, transfer case is out. That's a good thing. Nice thing about that leaking is, not a bunch of fluid on the floor, but lots of shards. So, now I'm gonna get my flywheel unbolted, or my torque converter from the flywheel. I gotta start working around that bell housing, which is the hardest part. But the key to that is, put your tranny on the jack, drop it way down so it's on an angle, and them top bolts on the bell housing are a lot easier to get to. I've got about 4 foot in extensions, so we'll just shoot up in there with a lot of extensions and pop her out. She should come out pretty easy. We won one battle, so here we go. We're looking good. Making forward progress. I got the 3 torque converter bolts out. I've got the lines split, so I'm just kind of letting them drain and leak until they stop, because I don't know if I've ever told you this, I hate tranny fluid. If it ever gets into your shirt, no matter how many times you wash that shirt, it smells like tranny fluid forever. I took the shifter box off. That's this thing that's got all the wire nuts. I've got to store it over here on the frame rail, so that's done. Yeah, O2 sensor wire hanging. So we're making headway. I'm gonna let them 2 lines, see where the tranny cooler lines were cut. I guess he cut them and then put rubber lines in between because he couldn't get them undone. I have no idea, but I just separate them just like that. I'm gonna drop the tranny just like that. So it's ready to drop. All I've got left is the bell housing bolts. I've got 1, 2, 3, and 3 on the other side, because I don't think, you know, if he didn't have the bolts, all the bolts in the cross member, the nuts on, none of the nuts on for the tranny brace, I know damn well he probably didn't put the top bell housing bolts in. You know what I mean? If you're not going to take the time to put the nuts on the cross member, you damn sure didn't take the time to put the 2 top bell housing bolts in up there. The hardest ones to get to, the hardest part of this whole job is those bolts. And it's not even hard, it's just frustrating. You just have to take your time, one step at a time. That's kind of how I'm doing this. Just, all right, we got to get, you know, torque converter bolts. It's time consuming. It's, you know, it's not hard. It's just you're laying here. I got myself a block for my head. You know, biggest thing is get comfortable. You're going to be there for a while. You're going to be turning them 1/8 of a turn at a time. Get comfortable, you know, and you need to take a break. Just drop your arms, rest, sit there for a minute, go back at it, get another 20 turns out of it. You know, we got those. Those came out pretty good. I had to basically get my wrench on the bolt inside there. I couldn't turn it at all, so I put the wrench on there, turned this right here with my screwdriver until it hit the frame rail, and it broke it loose, and then I rolled it back and took it out. There's nothing fun about these, but I guess nice thing is I know them top bolts aren't in there, so once I pop that one, pop this one, boom boom, I'll leave these ones here, the center one, and I'll get my jack underneath there. I'll start loosening these and wiggling, and we'll see what we got. But that's all we got left. We'll be seeing this tranny out today. But yeah, I had an epiphany while I was laying there thinking, I was slowly moving them torque converter bolts. And I was thinking, man, that top bell housing bolt, that's gonna suck. How am I gonna do that? Do I have enough extensions? And then like the light turned on in my head. You know that bolt's not in there. The detective that I am says, if you don't even put the bolts in the nuts in the cross member, you definitely didn't put the bolts in the top. So, shoot, we're 75% there. All right, it's go time here. I got all the bell housing bolts out except for the 2 side ones. So they hold it up there. I'm gonna get my jack in there, put some pressure on it. They're already loose, so I just gotta bust them out. Now, this here. This is the difference between 5 minutes on your bell housing bolt and 5 hours. No, I don't have any longer extensions. Like I said, I make do with what I got. That's what I got. Can't even use an impact because by time this turns in that socket, that one, there's no power by the time you get down there. So I did it with a ratchet. Yeah, I mean that top bell housing bolt way up there in the center, them extensions reached all the way back, busted it loose, got the top 2 corners easy. I've got the 2 sides still in, and then just the bottoms are out. So I've got 2 more bolts. That starter's kind of in my way. I ripped the old dipstick tube out, so that's out of my way. Let's get the jack under there and see if we can't pull this beast out. All right, I am fairly positive I've got all the bolts out. The top bolts were in, actually, which surprised the living crap out of me. But, like I said, with that cross member out, I just dropped it until the motor was hitting on that frame. And it was back. You could see all them clearly with that long extension. I just, right here with a ratchet, all the way around, 5 minutes, literally, on them bell housing bolts. Really easy, actually. On one that hadn't been out in 20 years? Maybe not. So I really still don't feel like I've done a tranny in a Silverado because it's actually been really freaking easy. Everything came apart real nice. The only thing I'm really going to have problems with, which I will on any other Chevy, is that exhaust, how it was cut. But that might just give me the opportunity to put a really sweet custom exhaust in this truck. So yeah, now I gotta try to get this thing out of here because the truck's not tall enough, so I'm gonna have to drag it off my jack, drag it over. But she's out. You can see this tail shaft spacer for 4-wheel drive is pretty broken up, but it's out. It's not leaking fluid all over the floor, like there's barely any in it. It spit it all out the back here. Look at how black that is. The metal in it, you can smell it. Those clutches are freaking shot. Look at all the freaking residue on that plate. She's shot. She's all broken. Oh well, look at this. LKQ Grand Rapids. Huh. He did buy it from LKQ out of an avalanche is what he told me. I wonder what if this is just their marking. Whatever that says. But it's definitely a newer tranny. Wouldn't trust this anymore. You could hear the fluid in it. So, I guess he said he put a used one in there, so no matter what, this one's going to be in better shape than that one. We're going to go ahead and run it. So, I guess I just got to prep this one. I got to get this bad lad off here, get this shaft off here, and don't be worried about the configuration because it's a square shaft or an oval shaft. You can only put this on one way. It would either be facing this way or facing up, and you know it's not going that way. As well as this thing here, this slides over that shaft. So, you know, it would either be upside down or right side up. You can't mess that up, so don't even worry about it. Let's see. This looks straight for my shifter cable, I believe. Where is that at? Yeah, it's the same thing. This one's actually in nicer shape, less rust. Whatever, I'm not switching a bunch of stuff over. I'm gonna get this off, get this prepped up, make sure I got all my vacuum lines. Like, what is this for, guys? Is this just... That's like a little filter, isn't it? For when it sucks air into the case here for working. And just sits up in the top bell housing bolt like so. Boom. Just like that. You got a 15 millimeter and then a shaft behind it for a 13 millimeter nut. He went and bought, he said he got the wrong one. I read a lot of forums on these dipstick tubes. Them coming with the wrong dipstick tube and running these with low fluid because your dipstick's not going in far enough. He said he put a different dipstick in it. So I wonder if, no, it's leaking because he cracked the case. Never mind. Just thinking out loud here. Let's see what this does. That goes down there. Yeah, it's the same tube. It's got the same bracket. So, I mean, this is a brand new dipstick tube made in Canada. I don't know. I'm excited, guys. Boom. I was scared of this. Real scared of this. And it went really well. Cross our fingers. That T case isn't bad. I mean, I think it's a 50-50 shot if that was ran with no fluid going in it because of the cracked case. I have to do some research. I want to make sure this seal is going to seal. I know that I'm going to Permatex all this big time, just cake it on there. But what I'm seeing is this gasket is half over that flange, so it doesn't go inside there. I don't know. Let me go do some more research on that. This is where we're at, guys. So with that, I'm going to end this video here. We got the tranny out, T-case out, found all bunch of issues. Let me know what you guys think. You think that T-case is going to be bad? I don't know. I'm on the fence. I'm going to throw it back in just to see. If it is, we're going to swap it. Yeah, what do you think about that? Should he have told me about that? Probably. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, I hope you learned something. I hope I showed you something. If you learned anything from this video, learn that those top bell housing bolts, drop your tranny after you get your brace out. As many extensions as you can get, or at least 3 foot of extensions. It's going to make your day a lot easier. Torque converter bolts were the second hardest thing. It's not hard, just be patient. As far as that, this is a pretty easy job. So if you learned anything, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. See if this thing's even going to go down the road. What if I do all this and it doesn't even move? We'll see. That's the gamble you play when you buy used trannies. But yeah, please remember, like, share, subscribe. Peace out.